Hello, everybody. I'm Kate Foggo, and that's Julie Hurt, and we are making light. So,
Mhm.
Julie and I recorded. This was a couple of weeks ago now. We did half of it about sort of all our issues around responsibility for animals and how it made us feel, and then we moved on to self-care and a whole lot of other stuff in between. And then we realised during the editing that it would probably make sense to turn that into two different episodes. So we're going to try and make more of an effort to stick to a subject. That doesn't mean we won't wander off the path, but to primarily focus on one subject. Just because it makes it just because we'll see how it goes. But we felt there was more to say about the animal stuff, and in fact, lots of stuff has happened for me, Julie, and I know for you. And last night we had a Be Open meeting with Danielle, which is for the benefit of our viewers. A group, it's a community that we're a part of, that Danielle, our animal communication spirituality teacher, if you like, has this community, and there's a lot of people. They're not all students of hers, but they're all people who I would say are sensitive people. Most of them are psychic or intuitive in a lot of ways, but a lot of very sensitive people. And I've never met a community like that. I mean, to be fair, until I met Danielle, I didn't know such things existed, and I didn't know that I was one of them. But it is unbelievably refreshing, comforting to be with other people that you can be vulnerable with and talk about this stuff. And I actually brought it up because although I have had a lot of time to think this stuff through, and we've talked about it since, Julian, we've talked about it in book club, it's still very real for me and very much in my face, as I know it is for you. What was really interesting was how people responded to that. There's a lot of people in a lot of pain about it. I don't know whether to summarize now, Julie, what they said, or shall I think maybe it will come out organically as we talk further.
Maybe do it because I wasn't there yesterday because I had the chance to meet somebody here in town, a friend of a friend, a friend of a
A real person in person, like
in
in the
person.
flesh. Oh
Yes.
my
Yeah.
God.
True lunch, break bread together.
Wow. Because
Face.
that was the other thing that came up last night was people going, oh my God, I went out and I freaked out because people, I've never been anxious about going out and meeting people, but absolutely freaked out when it actually happened, or came back and said, I'm never going out again.
Yeah.
I think because we've had such limited. So for the archives, for the young people who will watch this in 100 years' time, this is COVID, guys.
Yes.
Well, actually, we're coming out of COVID, aren't we? Hopefully.
I
But
just
face to
so
face.
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
I do hope. That's another topic, hope versus doubt. That's another topic that just came up to me today. But I should say real quick before I don't know, you can do whichever you want to about this webinar yesterday but I didn't get to see it, so I have to watch the replay. But I saw a lot of the comments on our Facebook group about how amazing it was, particularly for our lovely friend Maria, seemed to be very much supported in it, which was wonderful. But our teacher, just full disclosure, is Danielle McKinnon. DanielleMcKinnon.com, and I can put her contact information in the show notes as well.
And it's the Be Open community.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I'm so happy to be part of it. So yes.
I am. And like after last night, just some of the things that people said, because they're all things I've sort of come, because what I had, so even before the meeting last night, I had decided that I was trying to do a sort of, well, okay, Kate, if this wasn't so, if someone said this to you, how would you respond? I was thinking about you and the puppy. Maybe we should break now, allow it then so that I can place the original conversation in, and then we can sort of discuss it after that. Otherwise, I'm going to be cutting myself off mid-sentence. So we shall now go back to the original recording, which was a couple of weeks ago, and we'll see you after that.
For those who don't know, Danielle is our teacher. I've had a serious, because of Danielle, I've had a serious reckoning, I think might be the word, of ticks. Because I think I think you were there. I was sharing how I've been scorching them. When I find them on Lucas, I, get them off and then I burn them because
I
somebody
didn't know
here in
that.
Michigan told me to burn them. And she said, I can't kill them. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, but I,
Oh, I do remember that. Yes.
I can kill them. I am fine with killing that we're animal communicators and I'm killing them.
Oh, ticks have feelings too, you know.
See, here we go. Now I'm going to feel terrible the rest of
Well, you should. You're killing them for I don't know, can't you flush them down the loo or something?
No, they say not to do that. They can survive and crawl out and
But does it matter that they survive, Julie? You just don't want them on you.
well, I don't want the disease on me or on Lucas, or I don't want to perpetuate the disease on somebody else either.
Well, that's assuming they're diseased.
It is, but that's not a hard assumption. Yeah, because everyone that I've talked to,
Actually,
other ones, they're like, other animal communicators are like, oh no, I kill them too. They spread disease,
I'm being a complete hypocrite because if it was a fucking mosquito, I'd be right in there.
right?
And with chemicals if necessary. Yeah. So I'm being a complete hypocrite.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's a quandary. Yeah, I've got spiders. So we talk? Well, we're getting off topic. We were talking about something else before because I go down the whole spider thing and all the ones that got killed when the cleaning crew came through. But I said a prayer for them. I warned.
I do really struggle with that when I'm emptying the hot tub and that, and vaguely if I remember I sort of say, right, everybody, hoses coming, you need to get out of the way, and I do that when I sweep the spider webs off the banisters. But I do struggle with that. It doesn't stop me doing it.
Yeah.
But like I don't want to mash all these little animals, but life goes on. Get out of my way.
Yeah.
I need to pay more attention to actually making a point of saying, right, I'm going to do this. Now's your chance to get out of the way.
Yep.
I don't know if they listen, understand, don't know.
Sometimes they do, I guess. I tried to warn them. The cleaning crews
That
coming through. They're not gonna save you. So maybe some escaped. I don't know. So
P. Horsley, is it P. Horsley? She's a British animal communicator. And she says, I'm sure her story was that she said something to a fly and it responded, and that's how she knew she could speak to animals. But I haven't had much success, to be honest. There's a bee got into the house and we've got these skylights and they're too high for me to open a window. And I was like saying, I was opening the doors and I'm like telling it, you need to go down and get out that, and it's never, they've disappeared. And I think, oh, brilliant, it's worked. And they're having a fun, I'm dead in the corner. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Maybe they'd rather die. I don't know.
Maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? I'm managing to, because I've had a lot of stuff that the universe has shown me about me not being responsible for everything around me. So there's been a lot of stuff thrown at me in the last week or so.
Yeah.
Fucking cried. When was it? Who we talking?
You
The
were doing.
book club. And I started crying, like out of nowhere. I wasn't upset. No, well, I mean, I wasn't consciously upset. So I think there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I meant to tell you. Oh yes, go ahead. But I
Wait,
have
what were
to
you
tell you
going
the
to say?
story. So after book club, there is. Oh no, that's the dog I'm hearing right now. Behind me is a house that has a little I want to say 5 month. I don't know how old this puppy is, but it's like a husky puppy, and they tie it outside, and it cries and cries and cries, and so after book club, when you were telling us the story about the animals that you were seeing that were crying or had issues, I get this and I'm like, oh, because me, I'm like, I want to go over there and tell them, hey, don't do that. You're like traumatizing the dog, like all of this type of stuff. And I'm thinking, okay, no, wait, listening to what we did, we talked at book club and with you, I'm thinking, okay, why is this really bothering me? Why is this really bothering me? And it had to do with me not feeling heard in because that puppy's not being heard. Like they're just totally ignoring it.
Yeah, I
But
want to cry. You just telling me this makes me want to cry.
oh yeah. Oh, it's just so he cried. And the thing was yesterday and the day before, Monday, it was really hot here in the sun. There were no clouds in the sky. And they had this dog, a husky, tied in the sun. And so I'm just watching it. Like I cannot look away from this. But then I went and I did walk around their property a little bit, and I did see that it had a big huge thing of water. It was all set up. It's okay. But I realized it was triggering me to deal with like this idea of not being heard. So I kept trying to like think through that, meditate on it, like send those people love, send the puppy love. And I was even muscle testing. Yes, the puppy's fine, like all of the things just to come to terms with it. And it quieted down. And at one point they came home and they didn't spend the night out there, but then they put it out again the next morning and it did the same thing. Well, now it was just doing the same thing. And I thought it was the Chihuahua down the street, but I just realized it was that puppy. But I wasn't nearly as triggered now today. But still, I don't like.
Do you, well, I know in Britain you can actually, and I didn't know this, you can report it.
Yeah, I can. I think in Alaska I could report it. I don't know. I'll have to Google that for here where I am.
I would, because there's people who leave their dogs and actually don't know.
Yeah.
So if they're assholes, then it's not going to make any difference to them. If they're good people, then they will be mortified and they will do something about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's ignorance. There's people still believe that you should leave a child to cry itself out.
Yeah.
That yeah. See, that just makes me want. just talking about it makes me want to cry.
I know. I'm just like, and it's tied at its neck, and so it's doing all of this. Oh, horrible. But I don't hear it now. Now it's quieted down. So.
Do they bring it inside at times?
Yeah.
All right, so it's not just locked up outside all the time.
No, not that I can tell, because so when I grew up, there was a TV show here called Bewitched, where the woman was a witch, but her nosy neighbor was Doris Kravitz. Gladys Kravitz was the neighbor across the way. So I'm totally doing a Gladys Kravitz, and I'm always watching out my kitchen window to see if I can see the puppy. Like when we're done.
It drives me crazy though.
See what?
See, I'm afraid of that. One of the reasons I would love to go and live in Greece or Turkey or somewhere like that where it's cheap and it's warm. But there is a bit of me that goes, how would I survive? Because, they don't treat their animal, not everybody, obviously, but a lot of the farmers not have animals guarding their greenhouses and they just live on a shit heap with it would just kill me. I don't think I could do it.
Yeah.
I've gone too soft. I think I'll have to live here where I can report it.
Yeah. That was when I would go to India. That was really hard to watch the animals just running free. Some of them you could tell have been injured, and there's no care. They're not going to be cared for. They're loose dogs, Same in Latin America. Yeah.
There's people there that are injured, and what? Maybe this is something we should look at together one day, because certainly with people, like Abraham Hicks says, by doing this for me, you're showing me that I'm not able to do it for myself. You're sort of, it's actually quite patronizing to sort of barge in and try and help people.
Oh.
It must be the same for animals then.
Yes. Yeah.
Who are we to say, let me do this for you because you obviously can't do it for yourself?
Right. I'm not here to save. Well, you see, even just the idea of saving is a judgment. So therefore I'm making a judgment that the puppy's not safe. The puppy's actually safe. He's secure. He's in a fenced area and tied. Like they're doing what they can to make sure he's safe. I don't know if it's a he or she. And she quiets.
What you could do is offer to do you have this walk my doggy thing? We have this.
Oh, rover.com. I could, yeah.
But then you're only doing that to make yourself feel better.
Right. And I'm still butting in. Yeah.
One thing I noticed, and I don't know, I'm just thinking about this for a blog post actually, but I don't quite know how to weave it in. But so there's sheep right next to us at the moment, and they're sweet. These are what I call them hobby sheep, which is actually patronising. But it's a girl. She doesn't like lamb them or anything. I think they're like pets. They're obviously pets because they're really, really friendly. There's about 8 or 9 of them, and they're in the fields right next to us, and they're actually even closer now because the other fields have been used for lambing. And for example, when we had our grass cut, all the grass was piled up against the fence and they'd eaten into the pile as far as they could get through the gate. But they're just funny. I mean, but I was watching them. So Gary was bringing grass over to them, just grass, but they come over and they're all piled up against the gate.
And then another one will come from behind, and in order to get to the front to see what's happened, literally just walked over them and let them fall apart. Like, animals do not give a shit, do they? About, and another one would just literally just push them out of the way to get to, and you're like, there's like no malice in it. It's literally just like, I want to be there and you're in my way.
Yeah.
And they just, one of them literally just jumped up on the pair of them, so the two of them parted so that he could get through. I mean, he just climbed up on their backs. And they sort of separated, and he just sort of, I was just watching that and thinking, well, it's so polite and delicate now. And they're just like that. I need to be over there and you're in my way.
Yeah.
It's not nasty or anything. It's just a sort of, here I go. And Sally's like that. And when she jumps off me, she'll sit and cuddle, be so sweet. Then she wants to jump off me to her bed, thinks nothing of putting all 20 claws into me to get the grip to do it. And you're like, ah! Just she just doesn't occur to her.
Mm-hmm.
I have talked to her about that actually, and she is slightly more gentle. She doesn't do the 180-degree turn at the same time. She sort of jumps more gently, because I was like, when you jump off me, your claws go into my skin and you really hurt me. And she went,
Mm-hmm. No, I know the things we do to make sure everybody's okay, even though they're totally fine. I mean, I check in with Lucas on so many different things, and I usually get, I'm fine. Like, I get, stop. It's you, not me.
that's just it. And I suddenly realized, as I was explaining this to someone else, it sort of hit me that a lot of this is my workaround about if something needs to be fixed, and if it's possible to fix something and I'm not fixing it, then I'm a bad, lazy, selfish person. So, because I sort of almost thought, and it's funny because the lambs are gone since I said this, they've all gone to another field, so they must be here. I just can't see them anymore.
Oh.
It's almost like I sort of want it taken out of my vision. So that's not genuine concern for the lambs. That's concern because I can't bear to watch it.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Gary about this, and I was saying, the thing that upsets me, I know that Robin's not cruel or in any way, shape, or form, and maybe there is nothing that can be done for a little lamb that's got a broken shoulder or something. Maybe the alternative is they get shot. Do you know what? I just don't know. In which case, if I knew the alternative was they were shot, well, actually, they're perfectly happy. They may be limping, but they're perfectly happy. They're still able to play. They're still eating. They're obviously enjoying life. It's almost like I need some justification to make it okay. I also, and I heard the words come out of my mouth, and that was, if Robin told me there was nothing that could be done, then I'd be all right with it. So again, this is not out of concern for the animal, is it? This is about relieving my anxiety over the fact that I am witnessing some suffering that I am not actively trying to fix.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to say there isn't some genuine concern for them, but all the anxiety is around my duty of care to that animal. Who the fuck do I think I am? I mean, really?
Right. Yeah.
But it's also what interests me is and I haven't got to the bottom of this at all, is why do I associate physical pain with emotional pain? Because it doesn't. When I really think about limping, for example, if I hurt my ankle and I'm limping, it's not the end of the world, is it? It's really not the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea, which is what I am putting on it, is that poor lamb can't play with his friends. He's feeling left out because he can't keep up. I'm saying, well, that's pain, but it's not. I'm actually associating it with not that he's in pain and having to limp, but that he feels left out, or that he feels unloved, or that he can't play with the other animals and is going to, it's all emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Nonsense.
Yeah. On your part, not on his part. He doesn't have those emotions. Yeah.
Yeah. And I connected with him, and they were fucking bouncing all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sort of telling myself, well, you wanted to hear that, Kate. That's what your logical brain is telling you. So I really do want to connect with someone. I keep meaning to write a post of anyone that's actually had experience of connecting with other animals to hear their perspective on pain. So I'd be really interested in that.
That would be fun. That would actually just be fun to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I could connect with the and you could connect with the puppy.
but I think I wouldn't trust myself.
No,
I
no,
know too much.
other way. Oh, you
No, I
would.
know,
Oh, you
but
wouldn't.
I wouldn't trust myself because I know what you and I want to hear.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh,
You would have to phrase the question in such a way that the person who was asking did not know what you were referring to. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like without telling anyone the story.
yeah.
Anyway, we can put that down for future.
Right, yes.
And we're back. Okay, so I was thinking, because the puppy thing is obviously still happening for you, and I feel you, Julie. You know, my lambs come and go. I can't actually see them limping. I'm still on high alert whenever I hear the lambs. I did actually speak to them this morning. Danielle said, "Speak to them." But we can come to that later. But what I was thinking was about the puppy, because you know, after we'd all had that discussion at book club, and I had said we'll go and speak to them or whatever, and then another lady had shared how she had ended up doing that and ended up having to take care of someone else's animals. And I'm very aware of that because I'm very much of a mindset these days to avoid taking responsibility for other people's shit, because my tendency is to take it on. So I try really hard now not to. So I get that that's not the path of least resistance and not really a solution.
Right, right. Yeah.
Because it's not your problem. Your
No.
problem is that you're reacting to something you have no control over.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what conclusion I had come to, was a sort of combination of what people had said, what I've been thinking, what I know Abraham Hicks would say, which would be, Abraham Hicks would say, turn your attention away from it. It's not that easy. Nick Bro would say, Abraham Hicks would also say, something is resonating in you. That's why it's bothering you. And we've heard that in a number of forms. And I tried to think about what it was for me with the lambs. I think it's abandonment, and I can go down that road. But I thought, I didn't know if you wanted to try it or not, and for you to think about what feeling or emotion it is in you that puppy is resonating. On the other hand, you may not wish to do that.
That part is fine. That actually, that feels a lot better. What I was, before we started recording and had a little conversation, I was saying in our conversation, in our book club conversation on Monday, we were talking about maybe I should just go over and introduce myself, make sure, alert them to what's happening when they're gone, which is this puppy cries. It screams. Actually, it is the most unsettling sound. I know it's a husky, so it's very vocal, as huskies tend to be. I know it got caught in a rainstorm the other day, which was very troubling to me. So it was a big rainstorm. So anyways, but some people had suggested go over and make the people aware that this is what's happening, and maybe they just aren't aware. And I'm thinking, why do I have to do that? And then I also thought, and then there was also, I could also offer that if there's something like a storm that comes up, that I could, let me help the puppy. I don't know if I want to do that, because I know I will get attached to the puppy, and then what if there's just so many variables, and when I come right down to it, I am very happy with, here I am, and I have time to study and do all the things we did, readings and helping other people through intuitive work. And then you can kind of see the black, that's my dog Lucas right there. Oops, right there, sleeping on the couch. And if I've always had more than one dog, I don't necessarily want more than one dog right now, because we just really enjoy Lucas. So I kind of had that resistance. So I was just saying to you at the very beginning, I don't know if that's what I want. It just doesn't feel right. Like I just feel this resistance around it. And you had suggested.
And I totally agree, because actually I don't think that's fixing the problem. That's like me, in a sense that I'm alleviating my guilt around something, as opposed to learning not to react to something, which is the goal. And also I can see how that could end up in a less than desirable place. You could always write a letter, Julie, and that's a halfway house, an anonymous letter at that. Or you could report them to animal control. That way you know you've brought it to their attention, as in your dog cries when you're not home. I don't know if you know or not, you know, I just thought you should know. And you know, it's whatever, you know, you can do that and post it to them. You don't even it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because there is a genuine concern for the puppy. I mean, I feel upset with you just telling me that, but then again, so it cries, Julie, so what? You know, why do we get so upset by this? It's like, and I was thinking this about the lambs, and what the lambs actually told me this morning was that I am always looking for the worst case scenario. And I don't think that's generally in life, but around this area of that, I am always interpreting what I see and what I feel around these, you know, let's think of a generic term for animal welfare, that I am always looking for the worst case scenario, the worst possible interpretation. Like when I hear the lambs cry, and it's a bit like that dog, they're just really like really in your face. It's not like a you know, you can interpret a lot of noises a lot of ways, but sheep seem to just have one tone, and it's quite you know, it's funny because occasionally you'll get one or two that go moo, as opposed to but most of them are like and it does sound like and I was thinking, you know, and they were saying, but you're interpreting that. I'm layering on an interpretation of that noise, and I'm immediately going to they're in distress, as opposed to maybe they're just communicating, maybe they're just joyful, maybe they're just shouting. You know, there are a number of possibilities, but so I think what they were saying was that I am immediately looking for the absolute worst case scenario. There was more, but I can't I can't remember. Well, so you know, so what if the puppy cries? You know, okay, I don't like the idea of him out in the storm without shelter, but it's not going to kill him, is it? You know, and it's not even really going to hurt him.
No, and I even thought when the storm, I could see the storm coming because you can just see it on the horizon, and I saw it coming, and I'm looking at the weather app, and it's like storm warning. Oh no, you know. And then I just sat for a bit and heard animals are in the rain all the time. No one dies. It's all okay. Be fine. Be fine. So
the sheep, because I always go, oh my God, there's no shelter for the sheep, because there is no shelter when they're out. There are no, you know, from parts of Scotland where they I don't know where these ones are from, but you know, where there's gorse, there may be gorse bushes, but there's no trees, because I was like, there's no trees, there's no shelter. But I've seen them. It's funny because actually in the lambing fields, you know, you get a bit of foul weather and all these poor lambs are pressed up against the fence, which is closest to the gorse, which is like a bush, and all the lambs, and they're all sort of shaped like that, like they tuck their bums right in and all pressed up. But the adults just sit in the middle of the field going, whatever. Couldn't give a shit.
Yeah. You know, I also have thought about what is it in this puppy that why does that noise just go right to my heart? And I thought last week or when we talked about it last, I mean, it's consumed a lot of time, but one thing that's come up is, for me, this idea of no one's listening to me, no one's hearing me. And for years, as long as I can remember, I have always had dreams, or I guess nightmares, but dreams where I'm trying to scream for help and I can't get the sound to come out. And I will try really, I'll wake myself up trying, and all I can get out of my throat is like, if I'm lucky, as we've done all of this work with Danielle McKinnon, our teacher and coach, and all of that type of stuff, and just the support community, I'll have those dreams again, but I'm able to make a bigger noise. But I do know that, like, I still, to be interrupted. I don't like to interrupt. I don't like to be interrupted. I don't, because I'm trying to learn how to express myself. So I do think that there's a big part of that I'm hearing this puppy scream, and I'm just wondering why is nobody listening to it? Why is nobody coming to its aid? But it seems to be because it'll cry for a while, and then it curls up in the ball and goes to sleep. And then I watch the people come home and they love on the puppy and they're happy and they feed the puppy. Looks great. I mean, it's not like I don't think it's being neglected. It looks like it's cared for. It's just like how it's also triggering you. I think that also resonates for me. I'm assuming the worst case scenario. Also, there's this whole judging thing that we talked about in book club too, that I also feel like where I live now, there's a whole lesson here about not judging other people. And this is opening me up to be less judgy. My mom is really judgy, so I learned that really well. But and
Me too.
Oh yeah. And she still is.
Every person that is met, there is a subtext. Everyone. It took me a long time to realize that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's deaf, but he has a beautiful wife. What? Like nonsense, you know, as if the two are completely, you know, she's fat, but she's quite a nice person, or so and so's this, but they're intelligent. Like there's always a two-way thing, as if you can never have one thing and not the other, or that any compliment mum gives has to be compensated by something that's not so pleasant about them, or, you know, there's never, oh, what a lovely lady. It'll be, oh, what a lovely lady, but of course she's married to a drunk, or, you know,
Right.
just
right. Yeah. So, and that's probably just the surface of this area right here. Is just this, this awareness of judging, and when I'm judging, and instead of judging, you know, being more from a place of love, and everybody is somebody's relative. We're all connected somehow. I mean, there's that physical aspect, but spiritually we're also all connected. So there's all of that too. And then even today, so I'm doing a Course in Miracles, and today's is, in my defenselessness, there is safety. That's the basic idea. And I may have like bastardized it a skosh, it's to help move from a place of fear to a place of love. So when I feel that if I go into a situation being defensive, or going into a situation judging, I'm missing the larger opportunity of coming at something from just a place of alignment and being in a space of love and light. Because if I come into a situation already with those defenses up, I'm not going to hear the full conversation. I'm not going to see the full person. I'm not going to be in my full person or my full spirit either. And when I am, therein lies my safety. And so I'm like, oh, and so the practice is to meditate on it as long as you can. So I try to do 30 minutes, but I could just
meditate on
that line, on that defensive. In my defenselessness lies my safety. You meditate on that line and just see how it feels. For me, I just see how, for everybody meditates differently. For me, I say that
I don't like that line.
Say what?
I don't like that line. In my defensiveness lies my
defenselessness. Yeah.
In my defenselessness lies my safety.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a whole teaching that goes along with the line, and once you do the teaching, then you hear. But anyway, so I sat there and I could just feel this fear sitting right there on my chest. Like, what am I all? And I just started to kind of not play, but like think through those different layers of fear that was just, I could just feel it sitting right here. I mean, part of it is Lucas safe when we go on these new trails that we don't know anything about, and there's deer about, and we don't know how to use the electric collar to help. You know, I have all the la 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 la. You know, you can just hear my head go off, and it's just, it will be fine. Just let it be. Let it be. Just breathe a minute. So that's just today, one session. There's way more coming, I know.
So, going back to, I want to go back to you sort of finding your voice, but also just to touch on judgment, because I think that in some ways we are so overeducated and we've got so soft, and our idea about how animals should be treated, this really hit home at book club, because I have a very strong idea about how animals should be treated, and I obsess over making sure I do absolutely the best possible thing for my animals. So it's not, to the degree that I realize there's a real issue there, because I don't know that animals really care half as much as we think they do. And we have, our society, our intellectual educated society, has decided all these things about our animals, and that's what upsets you. It's like you're saying, he should have shelter, he should have this, he shouldn't be left for these hours, he shouldn't. And it's one of the reasons I could never live abroad in one of these countries where they have animals that are tied up all day or whatever. But you know what, those animals, if you connected with them and asked them, they might actually be perfectly happy. It's just we have a certain expectation of how an animal should live.
Yes.
But going back to you're sort of finding your voice. So what Nick Barrow would do is just to ask some investigative questions around that to see if you can get to the underlying belief and where it came from. I don't know if you want to do that. You don't have to. It was just a thought. It might be terribly dull. Maybe we should leave a nice gap here so we can cut it out if it's tedious. Right, 1, 2, 3. So we do, in fact, go on to do a connection with Julie. We got a lot of stuff out of it. And then Julie actually connected to me, and we got a little bit about the lambs as well. But because the episode went on for a significant period of time, we thought we would wrap it into another episode. So it is interesting. It's interesting on a number of levels. Shows people sort of actually what we do when we connect to people psychically, and also the content's fascinating as well. So if you're interested in what happens in our next episode, you will find it. It will be, I'll probably call it Animal Lessons Part 2. So that should give you a bit of a clue. So we do actually have the content of that, just working around the editing around it. So thank you everybody for listening and watching, even, shall we say. We are making light, so it's goodbye from me, Kate Foggo.
And from me, Julie Hint.
Bye-bye.
Bye.